Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Confident Conversations podcast. I'm a confidence and peak performance coach, best-selling author, and speaker who helps businesswomen develop confidence to believe in themselves, take action, and get results. This podcast shares authentic and transparent, thought-provoking stories, tips, and tools from my experiences, as well as incredible guests, so you can continue to build your confidence and live your best life. Thank you for joining me. Let's get started on this confidence journey. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Confident Conversations podcast, and thank you in advance for joining me. I am super excited to be here and decided for the first time ever to chat about having the confidence to raise your prices and also set your prices. This is something I have never talked about before. I don't know why, because honestly, it's something that my husband Ryan and I have dealt with for years since we started Good Karma Sportfishing 10 years ago this coming January. We had a small seafood business before starting that business. We've done other businesses. I was a buyer, for 16 years in the corporate world. I had to do pricing all the time. I had to do product development and pricing. And now as a coach, having obviously coaching programs, but also a course, there's a lot there. There's a lot of energy work. There's a lot of mindset work. There's comparison work. There's understanding your value. There is so much work that goes into setting your prices. And for a lot of people, it is a challenge. It is a struggle. And you'll hear, people ask in coaching courses or in a Facebook group, what should I set my prices at? Should I put my prices on the website? You hear all of these questions. So you know that you're not alone. If you're someone that struggles with any of that, you are not alone. So this is going to be a 2-part podcast because I feel strongly that what I'm going to talk about today is one aspect of setting your prices. And then part 2 is something that I see emerging as a new paradigm in regards to setting your prices, but it's just a different element. So I felt that it should be 2 podcasts to separate them because one is just a very obvious, very much what the majority of people go through. And then again, part 2 is kind of a new paradigm of thinking. So it's thinking a little bit ahead. So some people may or may not be there yet. And it's just something, if you're not there yet, to be aware of. So 2 separate podcasts for the topic of how to build your confidence in pricing. So I'm going to first chat about my husband Ryan and I's small business, Good Karma Sportfishing. So when we moved down here and got all set up to finally start our charter business, and like I said, it was going to start in January of 2012. Yes, because it'll be 10 years this January that we actually started. We realized we were in a bloody ocean of charter boats. There's lots of charter boats down here. It is one of the most competitive industries you can be in because anyone can fish. Anyone can fish. Male, female, tall, short, skinny, not so skinny, any color, like nationality. It doesn't matter. You can be anything. You can be anything. You can fish. You can have purple hair. You can have pink hair. You can have blonde hair. You can have blue hair. It doesn't matter. Anyone can fish. And we are in the sport fishing capital of the world. There are charter boats everywhere. I remember when I joined BPW, well, I actually went as a guest at first. Now I'm a member, but originally way back when I was a guest, I remember I would sit down and network with other women, and they were either in real estate, worked for one of the millions of banks down here, or they were a wife or girlfriend of a charter captain. Those were the 3 labels that people were in this business group because it's just so common. It's just so common. So we were like, gosh, what do we do for our prices? So we really just went with where we felt comfortable, being that we're a smaller boat. We're not a big sport fisher boat. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of people in our lane. It was a niche that my husband had thought of to have a smaller boat, to have a pricing that was more affordable than being on a bigger boat. If you couldn't afford to be on a bigger boat, you could definitely afford to fish with my husband. And we set the prices with that strategy in mind. We set the prices as how we would feel as consumers. More on a budget, just the two of us for the most part, no kids for the most part. What could we pay comfortably and not have any resistance against the pricing? So we have offered a half day, a 3/4 day, and a full day. Since then, I honestly do not know how many times we have raised our prices, but it took a while. It took years, really, at first, before we raised our prices the first time. But now, within the last year and a half of our business, we have definitely raised the prices 3 times in that time frame and eliminated the lowest priced charter. We eliminated the half day. It takes work. It takes work in believing in yourself and knowing that you can do it. So what made me start to think about this is someone that I'm friends with was talking about how they're really busy, and I just spewed out of my mouth, which wasn't really the right thing to do. I definitely did not have a coaching hat on. I just had a, Linda, hey, I'm out at dinner hat on. And I said, oh, you should raise your prices. And you could just tell she wasn't there yet. And that's okay. That's part of the journey, because that's the journey we went through. There were many times that my husband would come home and feel like, oh, I should raise my prices. And we'd have a little chat about it. And my comeback to him, my response would be, hey, did you look at everyone else's prices? Is everyone else raising their prices? I'm always up for making more money, so it's not about that. But he has to be the one that's comfortable with raising the prices. And he wasn't always comfortable with that. And so many times we would have a discussion and he'd say that, he'd start the conversation, and you could tell he's starting the conversation even in his head, but we didn't pull the trigger. So each time, it also took time. Sometimes a couple weeks, sometimes a couple months, sometimes a year, whatever it was, it always just took time for him to finally say, yes, I'm ready to do it. Because I can't just raise the prices on him. That would be unfair. He's the one on the water with the clients asking for a credit card or cash at the end of the charter. He has to be the one that's energetically aligned. He's the one on the phone having the conversations with a client, going over the pricing, what type of trip it is, what to expect. So he really has to be more energetically aligned with the pricing than I am. So I couldn't force him to raise the prices, even though making more money sounded really great, right? He had to be the one. So I asked him, I said, hey, Ryan, and I filled him in on how my thought process was after having a conversation with this friend and why I was asking him. And I said, give me the straight up scoop why you would eventually say, hey, I'm ready to raise our prices. And it all had to do with confidence. Every single time. It was confidence in his fishing ability. The first time was confidence in that he was able to deliver a better catch with more fish variety than when he first started out. So Ryan started out first as becoming an expert, let's say, in yellowtail fishing. And he's very known for being an excellent yellowtail angler. He was actually even on the cover of Florida Sportsman for yellowtail fishing back in the summer of 2018. So that was definitely his first strength. He mastered yellowtail fishing. But there's many more fish in the sea, right? So once he mastered that, he worked on the next fish that he wanted to master, which I'd have to ask him, but to me it was wahoo. He became an expert at wahoo fishing. After that, he became an expert at mutton snapper fishing. And dolphin fishing is its own thing. It's a different type of fishing, but he's always been good at mahi-mahi fishing, which is dolphin. I'm sorry if anyone's confused. We do not fish for flipper. It's actually called mahi-mahi down here in the Keys. We also call it dolphin, but just for clarity, mahi-mahi, not flipper. So he became an expert at more variety, more types of catching fish, right? So it built his confidence. He also was building confidence along the way with gear, with different systems and tools and different things we added to the boat. So the boat itself, the Good Karma, has evolved over the past 10 years. That I'd have to just really sit. I could probably fill a whole journal with all the things we have changed about our boat from when we first bought it to what it looks like now. Like, we have done so much work in changing and evolving it, and all of those things were Ryan's ideas, not mine, because I don't get into all that, but it has evolved. And all those changes helped his charters be better, his clients be happier, him catch more fish, more comfortable. Even though it's a small boat, it's still a comfortable boat. We have a seakeeper, amongst other things. So all of those tools, actually physical tools, went into his bucket also of building confidence. So once those things started to click, he felt really good about raising his prices. So if you don't have all your tools in place, whether it's the actual capability of performing the job and the variety of what you can offer, as well as like physical things, right? For him, it's rods and reels, for example. For someone else, it may be a better car. If you're, own a car service, you want more limos, something like that, then you can't raise your prices if you don't have those things in place, because you're just not feeling good. You're just not feeling good. It's amazing how many times we've raised our prices, and he still gets booked every single day because people see the value and he's energetically aligned with the pricing. So it doesn't bother him. He's fine. He's good. A full day fishing with Ryan is $1,200. And we added credit card fees on that in the last couple months because the credit card fees are ridiculous. And then we asked for a 20% tip. So a full day fishing is not a cheap thing. But people that understand what it's like to have a really awesome day on the water, it's no big deal. They pay it. They get it. They understand the value. So all of those things get energetically aligned, and it's no big deal for him to ask for that price. And it was no big deal for him to get rid of the least expensive charter, the half day, because in general, he was booking more people in 3/4 days and full days, and he knows the value difference of what he can do for somebody on the water with more time. So it didn't make sense to have these shorter trips because that's just not his model of how he fishes. He needs the time. And it's been fine. He hasn't had one complaint. It's been totally fine. For me, when I started to look at coaching prices, I didn't struggle with the monthly coaching package prices because I really felt very aligned with what other coaches are asking out there that are similar to me. So I did do a little bit of comparison, and that is really where I ended up setting myself. However, I see myself as I grow definitely increasing those prices because I know my value. I know I didn't start becoming a coach till I was 49 years old. I have 16 years of corporate experience and 12 years of independent sales rep experience and owning a small business. So my value of what I bring, in addition to my background, in addition to my spirituality, is a unique combination that I don't see many other people having out there. And I know my human design, I know how I am, so I know what I can contribute, right? So I know my prices for my coaching packages will go up in time. I know that. But right now I'm good, but they will go up. And that's what happens. As coaches get stronger and they feel more confident, they just raise their prices. And they should. They totally should. There's a coach that I follow. She is now charging $33,000 a month, 3 months minimum, pay in full, and her wait list is till next summer. So you have to pay in full to get on her wait list, and you don't even get to talk to her till next summer. She fucking deserves it. Good for her. That's energy. That's alignment. And someday, you know what? If I'm there, that's fantastic. So you can say you listened to this podcast back in 2021 and you can be like, yep, Melinda Van Fleet said that someday she'd get there. And you know what? 5 years later, however long it takes, she's there. On the flip side, I had to do a little more work around my course because my first course, the 12-week program, Content Creation Success Strategies, there were so many mixed messages out there from all different coaches, from peers, from different courses, you name it. I've heard it all. I've heard everything from giving things away for free to no, don't give anything away for free, or no, you should start with a $44 program. No, you should do this. No, you should do that. No, you should do that. So that took more work. And really what it boiled down to was my intuition was leading me down a path of creating the 12-week program first. That's what kept coming into my brain, coming, was all the content for the 12-week program. And then originally, because I had all this outside noise going on with everyone's opinion on pricing and their experience on pricing, I was like, oh, well, should it be this? And I started working on the content. And I went outside and I sat in my hot tub and was just kind of staring at the palm trees, which is my favorite thing to do on the weekend. Just kind of staring, looking in for the iguanas and listening to the birds. And I was like, no, that is way underpriced for my value that I will be sharing for a 12-week program. So I settled on the cost of $1,111. And yes, I'm being kind of cheesy and using the angel numbers like many people are doing, but whatever. It felt good and it just made me smile. But I know that that program price will go up in time. It will, because there's so much value in it. And the value will continue to compound as I learn things and share them with others, and also hear more about what other people are looking to learn. So it's a combination. But to start with, it felt good to me. It felt right to charge that price. It's 12 weeks, 6 modules. Everything that's in my brain is going into these, plus workshops where people can ask me questions and show me their content. And I haven't seen anyone else's course like this. So it is different. So then I felt good. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave this at this price and see what happens, right? See what happens. I'm just getting started, people. This is just like, whoop, this is the beginning. So I'm good. I'm really good. I feel really good about it and I'm sticking with it. But I had to do some work on that, to be really honest. I had to work on that. Whereas I didn't have to work on my coaching price, I had to work on the course price. And it came to me when I went outside, when I got in nature and I let it go and I wasn't thinking about it. I was looking at the iguanas and the trees and the birds and hoping to see a butterfly and thinking, oh, when the hummingbird's going to come back? So that's what was going through my head when all of a sudden I was like, no, it needs to be more than that price. So my advice to you is if you are struggling with pricing, let it go. Just let it go. Let it be what it is right now and let it go. I have found it helpful to look at the competition just to see as a benchmark. Don't get yourself into a comparison, icky, sticky, mind loop, trigger place. Like, no. Take some deep breaths and just look at it for some type of benchmark. Because I do think that's a good place to start and to kind of see where the industry is at. I always did that in retail. You don't want to be charging like $100 for a t-shirt on Amazon that's $10, exactly the same thing unless it's some brand. There's definitely those pop-up brands that you hear about once in a while. There was some brand a couple years ago that was hot in New York that was just basic t-shirts, and I think they were selling for like $200. But that's kind of rare, let's be honest. So just do a little bit of comparison work there, and then think about yourself. Think about how are you making it different? What's the value that you are giving? And what do you think your audience can pay? Where do you want to be? And if you're in a place with an audience that is a really low price point, you might want to rethink that. So think about that too. Maybe you start at a certain place, but then you're also trying to build an audience in another place that can get a higher ticket. Because there is a difference in audiences, and we're going to talk about that actually in my course. I believe strongly in understanding the variances in audiences, and I don't think that's talked about enough. So we're going to talk about that because I've learned a lot about audiences. So I hope this podcast helps someone out there because I strongly believe and know that it is a big topic for a lot of online coaches, speakers, entrepreneurs, network marketers, and even small business owners in general. It doesn't even mean that you're online because honestly, Ryan's technically not an online business in regards to the charters. I mean, he is, but he's not. Like, it's still like you have to come here and fish. So, but we've been through it with the courses. We've tried different price points with the courses, and we've kind of figured out some sweet spots with that. But he sells ones that are $149 just as much as the one that's $39. So we had ones that were cheaper than $39, and those were the worst. I'm using the wrong word. Yeah, they were the worst courses. So we got rid of those. We got rid of the ones under $39. So $149 is good, $99 is good, $39 was good. And, so we had a little bit of a variety there. But cheaper than that wasn't good. It just didn't, and he has a huge audience. It just didn't really resonate. It's too cheap, right? Because if you go too cheap, then people are like, oh, why is it so cheap? And lots of people say that and to make that up. Like everyone says that. But it's true. Think about it. If it's too cheap, why is it so cheap, right? You end up asking yourself that in your head. So make sure you kind of think through all those things when you do your pricing, because it's all really important in order for you to get energetically aligned with your pricing. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you like this podcast, let me know because I can talk about this all day long. It's crazy. I never talked about it before. It just kind of popped up and I was like, I'm going to make this part 1. So if you have anything you'd like to share with me, let me know and I can always address it and help you out. In the meantime, please follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, Melinda_Van Fleet. My website is melindavanfleet.com, and you can always email me at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. I am keeping that private Facebook group open, and I am changing the name to Beyond Basic Coaching. And the master classes will be in that Facebook group. And then whenever I have a course or program, I will create a separate pop-up Facebook group. But the original one that started last week on September 8th will remain open and we will be building from there. So I am super excited and I appreciate all of you that joined the group, and I would love to see even more of you because I just think it's just so important for all of us to help each other and everyone can learn from everyone else because we're all going through things and it's important to share. So thanks again, and I hope this podcast helped build your confidence. Thank you. Bye.